Hey there, and welcome back to another episode of Live with Rye. I'm Rye Myers, your Broadway and entertainment BFF, and I'm so thrilled you're joining me. Just a quick programming note, this episode was pre-recorded, just so you know. But listen, I still have a big favor to ask of you. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and subscribe to my YouTube channel so you never miss an episode of Live with Rye. You get notified every time I go live, every time I post a new video or a new video uploads. I've done some new product reviews as well, so definitely good to subscribe. So subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if you're watching us on Facebook, as always, give me a heart or a like. And listen, I love being able to bring you some of the best interviews with some of the best people in the entertainment, pop culture, and Broadway world, being able to bring you content from my live digital show and my live in-person show, Live with Rye and Friends on Broadway, that I do on Thursday nights. But I can't do it without your help. So if you are so inclined, please go to www.ridethenewsguy.com/donate, which you'll also see scrolling across the bottom of your screen. Or if you want, you can scan this fancy QR code right here if you're watching on a computer, and that will take you to it as well if you want. So I'll leave that up for 1 second. But again, you'll see it also scrolling. You'll also see my Venmo scrolling across the bottom of the screen, which is basically what that link was, at Rye_Myers. So if you are so inclined, please feel free to drop me a donation of any amount, and let's continue to keep ridethenewsguy.com and Rye Entertainment up and running. I love being able to follow this video. So with that, I'm so excited to talk to my very special guest today. Oh, she is a talent, a powerhouse, and she has done so much. And I'm really excited to talk with her. She's somebody who I've wanted to interview for quite some time, and thrilled that she's taking the opportunity out of her time. She's very, very busy right now being on Broadway. So please help me welcome the incredible NKenge. Hey, NKenge.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. We are, it's getting a little cold here, but we're good.
Yes,
I'm noticing a little mark on the screen. Is that like my screen? Is there like something there?
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
It's the green screen. It's the green screen effect.
Let's see.
Yeah, if you go to, I don't want to make it too stressful for you, but if you go to settings and if you scroll down to the bottom where the green screen is, there's like a fade thing, and you can move that up or down if you want to.
Oh wow. Okay, hold on. Whoa, now I'm gone. Oh, okay. I think that's good. Wow. Okay. And all of you people who are watching this just experienced that fade in and out.
It's the beauty of live, like live theater. It's the beauty of live, interviewing. It's
absolutely. It's as if, sometimes when you're singing or you're on stage and you have like a mascara off or a lipstick that's like over there, and you never know until you actually go back to the dressing room. So at least at this moment, I was able to do this without that big old mark on my cheek for the entire interview.
Yeah, exactly. Well, speaking of dressing rooms and on stage, Carolina Change just opened on Broadway for previews and is now in previews. What has that experience been like to bring back this incredible revival? If I'm not mistaken, you're starring as the Moon, correct?
Yes, I am. It's such an incredible show. The content is beautiful. The writing's great. There's so many different musical styles throughout the show from beginning to end. And it's just really wonderful to be a part of such a great cast and a great theater and a great community. We were about to open in previews when Broadway shut down. It was the night of our final dress rehearsal. So we were quite devastated when they made the announcement that we couldn't continue with the dress rehearsal. We all thought we were going to be back in a couple of weeks, maybe a month at the most. And lo and behold, the pandemic hit all of us worldwide. And 18 months later, we're just so happy that Broadway is back officially. And Roundabout Theater has been so loyal to the show. And so they had the set still sitting on the stage, covered it up while they were doing renovations. I mean, it was really amazing. Like, talk about like loyalty. And we just we've been doing previews for a week now. We're so excited. We've been performing to sold out audiences, and it's a ride. It's a really great ride being a part of this. And as the moon, I get to fly on stage in a bubble. I have my own bubble. It's great. So I figure, like, if there's going to be any stage that I fly over, it should be Studio 54 because of all the history. So
yes, I totally agree. That is very right. Yes, for sure. And for those who may not know or may not be familiar with the show, just give us quickly, what is Caroline or Change about? For those who may not.
Yes, well, Caroline or Change. It's about two families actually. A Black mom who is back in the 60s, and she is working as a maid to this Jewish family. There's a lot of the things that were going on during the 60s, working for $30 a week as a maid, and the son Noah, has this connection to Caroline, even though she says, "I'm never nice to you." But there's this concept of change. The mom is very upset that the little kid keeps change in his pocket, and so she told Caroline that, well, if anytime you find change in the pocket, you can keep it for yourself. If it's a penny or a dime or a nickel, and so of course, Caroline's like, I don't want to take change from a child. But I think it was kind of the mom's way of trying to help out in a way, trying to be nice, trying to connect with Caroline,
Right.
never really getting that connection together. And sadly, there's a big fight between Caroline and the young boy, Noah, because one of the change that was in his pocket was a $20 bill, which was huge in the 60s. So you see the chemistry and the tug of war and all these and everything that's around her world. So everything that's a part of her world, like the washing machine and the moon and the dryer, have all taken lives of characters. And so as the moon, I'm sort of like the overseer, kind of seeing how things are happening, knowing how things are going to happen, but still kind of sitting aside and watching the events, the results of it. So it's in a way kind of like an overseer, but then also being a part of it as well, really trying to create that change in her heart, trying to create that change with the rest of the family members and the characters that play a major part in Caroline's life. That is a very long explanation of the show, but it's so important for people to understand, the concept of the show. And I feel like the show was really, ambitious during the time that it opened originally, and now it's so relevant to what we are still dealing with in our time of wanting to be treated fairly and the equality between the races and the religions and all of that. So it's sad that a show that's written in the 60s is still very relevant to what is happening in our life. But it's just it's one of those shows that you're going to cry and you're going to laugh and you're going to cry again.
Oh, yes. Yes, I am hoping to get there in the next week or so. I have to buy my hip ticks for it. I have just been, this last week and a half has just been a absolute, I don't even know where the week is gone, but I am so excited to see it. I have had friends who are raving about it, who have gone. So I'm so excited to see it. And cannot wait to be back in Studio 54 for the
I know, it's such a great theater. It's so intimate too. As the moon, I get to, while I'm flying on stage, I really feel like I can touch the audience members in the mezzanine. So there really is not a bad seat in that house, in the orchestra or the mezzanine. You really get to see the set and the different levels from upstairs and downstairs, and it rains on stage. It actually rains on stage during Salty Teardrops. So it's amazing. It's a wonderful production to be a part of. Everybody in that cast is singing for the gods. And so they should be.
Yes, they should. I agree.
Yes. Yes.
That's amazing. Well, what can we expect to see from this production of this new revival?
Well, there's so many wonderful things that happened in the original, and with George Wolfe being the director of that production, and I feel that Michael has really taken a whole different vision with it, and not repeating what was done, but
Right.
having a new vision, a new level of understanding. A lot of these, characters that were kind of behind the screen in the original production now actually come to life, where they're like front and center on the stage with Caroline, and being a part of her world, like fully. And so that's a very big difference between the shows. I also feel that it's very some of the costuming is very futuristic in a way. And
Yeah.
so you have this juxtaposition of the 60s with, like, this new century all kind of mixed in one. I mean, that's my take on it. Everyone has their own vision and their own take on it, but that's my take on it. And it's really wonderful to see the fact that the moon is flying on stage seems something that should be done because it's the moon, right? So it's wonderful to be able to have this feeling of being up in the air and really being the moon. And there's a lot of references from the characters where they're talking about the moon, and they're looking up at me and I'm looking down at them, and like we really get this connection even though I'm not on stage. There is a moment where there's a kind of like this dream sequence at the end of Act 1 where I get to go on stage, and I land on stage to the kids, and we become part of this dream sequence of Caroline with money flying up in the air, and it's just really, really, really wonderful.
Oh, I love that. Well, if that's not a reason to go see it, then I mean, I don't know what is. I'm really so excited to see it. And I hope everyone out there goes and gets their tickets as well.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. They may
yeah,
even get a dollar or two, that's coming off of the stage.
oh, that's true. Oh, oh, you may walk away with some money. That's wonderful. So let's take me back. Let's start from the beginning. How did you get started as a singer and starting originally with opera training and getting into musical theater? How did you get started in that career path?
Yes. Well, it was kind of like a back and forth scenario. So when I was a kid, I wanted to be like the next Whitney Houston. And I got into music at the age of probably 3 or 4. I got exposed to music through dance and music, and singing kind of came last. I was doing auditions for my 5th grade class play, playing the piano for Poor Sweet Baby auditions, and my 5th grade teacher, Barbara Hartnick, had heard me, and she said, "Well, you're going to be our Patty." And I'm like, "What?" And I sang Poor Sweet Baby to Charlie Brown and got a standing ovation as a 10-year-old in the Bronx, PS 95. And that was a big deal. That was a big deal. I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I like this. I like that feeling." Wow, I can make this many people happy. This is amazing. I want to do this for the rest of my life. And that is kind of how it started. And I went to Harlem School of the Arts for training, and love going back to Harlem School of the Arts. It's an amazing school. And then went to LaGuardia High School of Performing Arts. I did the whole like New York thing, absolutely New York. LaGuardia High School of Performing Arts, Manhattan School of Music for my bachelor's, went for my graduate studies at the Juilliard School.
Wow.
I wanted to be Whitney Houston. I wanted to learn all the riffs. My teacher at Harlem School of the Arts found the voice for an opera singer that I didn't know anything of, was never trained or educated in classical music outside of, the piano and dance that you hear,
Right.
but it's not something that I was pursuing. And I started learning languages and singing Italian art songs and German lieder and French chanson. And next thing you know, I was wanting to be an opera singer and perform at the Metropolitan Opera House, still a dream of mine. And then I went to college, and during the summer times, I would sing in festivals in Italy and Israel and Austria. And I decided to pursue this like full time. And after I graduated, I was singing at City Opera, Vienna Kama Opera, Virginia Opera, Seattle Opera, you name it. I was there. I was doing the circuit. And I got an opportunity to sing Three Mo Divas, which was looking for opera singers that sang in 8 styles of music. And I thought, oh, well, that's fun. I'd love to do that. And that kind of transitioned me to the Broadway world, because that was like my first equity contract. Right. And people heard me sing in the other styles of music. And then suddenly I got connected to a Broadway agent and started doing Broadway auditions. And it was like kind of like a seamless kind of by accident. Oh, if I'm not doing an opera, I will audition for a Broadway show. It was that type of thing. And then suddenly Broadway kind of took over. And I still do opera. I still do lots of symphony concerts where I mix opera and theater. And I'd love to do an opera, sometime in my future. But right now I'm busy doing Carolina Change. And my role gets to kind of use the best of both worlds. There's a lot of parts in my role that is very classically oriented. I'm singing really high. And then there are other parts where I get to just belt it out. So it's really like a perfect combination of both my worlds into one role that I get to do on Broadway at Studio 54.
Wow, that's really, really special and incredible. And what a great journey you've had from, doing literally the New York theater scene of Juilliard and School of Music and LaGuardia, all the way up through now, and just sort of the great twists and turns you've taken with opera and musical theater and everything in between. What a special career that's been.
Thank
and I
you.
Opera. I know you'll be at the opera soon. I mean, you're busy now, but I know you'll be.
Come on, Matt, give me a call.
Yeah, I know you'll be performing them there soon. I'm sure about that.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit more about your vocal coaching. I know you're a vocal coach, and you help obviously students vocally, but what do you offer, and how can students learn from you? And are you currently taking on new clients if someone is looking?
Yes. Not this very second, because we are in rehearsals and previews, but once we open, which is just around the corner, October 27th, my days will free up so that I can take on a few more students. I do have a vocal studio of select few students that I work with, some of my days off. Mondays are my only, so there's never a day off really. But I love my students and I'm always there trying to support them. My goal is for healthy singing. I know there's my training. I've been trained to bel canto technique. So, that's not really something that musical theater singers are used to hearing about. So, but for me, I was trained classically. And then with that classical training, it has strengthened my voice, my stamina, my control, my intonation, everything. And then that allows me to cross over. So I'm all about having a solid technique and a solid foundation first and foremost, so that you are not just a fly-by-night singer that lasts for like 1 or 2 productions and then you've lost your voice or you have notes or what have you, all the scary things that us singers experience or are warned not to do because you want to have longevity in your career. And so for me, I'm about support. I'm about making sure that sound is crystal clear, about making sure that your interpretation, that you are a full actress or actor in that piece. Like you are telling a story, you are connecting to that person. It's like I call them like every song is like a mini opera, because operas are so, or mini show, because you're telling a story from beginning to end. And even if that song has started in, the middle of a show, you have to have backstory to lead you up to where you are emotionally in that song. And so I'm very much about the technique and also the artistic interpretation and presentation. I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's all about how you present yourself as an artist, and as a musical technician. I think that it's I kind of coach my students on everything from not just technique, but an interpretation. But what are you going to wear for your audition? And how, like, what is your presentation? Because when you walk in there, you have one chance to make an impression. And as we all know, casting is never based on, something specific. Like it varies on multiple layers. It's either you might be too tall or too short, or, they're looking for a different personality for that role. So I also want to encourage people that, like, it's not about the nose. It's about the making impression for an audition, so that you may not be right for that role for that production, but that casting director is going to remember you, and that director is going to remember you for something else that you're absolutely perfect for. So never take an audition or an interview for granted.
I think that is such great advice, and so wonderful you offer all of that. That's really important. I've heard from people, industry who do that well, or singers, and just talking about the importance of maintaining the vocal health and the stamina, and understanding the character that you're taking on in the song, and as soon as you walk in the door. So that's really wonderful, and I'm sure your students get a lot out of that.
Yes, I'm tough on them. And but in a good way.
Yes,
This
yes.
business is not for the weak. It's not for the weak. And
No.
when you are ready to get into this business, you want to be absolutely prepared on all the levels that you need. And as we know, in this business, you're always learning. So never take things like so seriously or beat yourself up on a mistake. Like the professionals that are making the big bucks make mistakes, and that's just how it is. That's what's so great about live theater, right? Once it's out, it's there, and you flub on a word, you flub on a note, whatever, you continue, and we do this because we love it. And I think audience members love it when, our authenticity comes out in these characters,
Yes. Yeah, I agree. Well, looking at what's behind you, the fabulous fan of projects that you are working on are involved with. Talk to me about the musical. Talk to me about the musical Dorothy Dandridge, Hollywood Sepia Goddess, that you have created.
Yes, well, Dorothy Dandridge. Oh, it's this side. My hair is very big today, so it's kind of hard to see all of these shows. But yes, the fan is the projects that I'm working on. As we know, the Carolina Change is a limited run, but as artists, we are always jumping from show to show, making new families and friends from show to show. But for me, I'm a performer, but I'm also a creator, and I love creating shows. I love writing. I love producing. And Dorothy Dandridge is a show that I conceived many years ago. I love her life. I love what she represents, her beauty, her talent, everything about her I'm in love with. And I realized that no one had made a musical of this great Dorothy Dandridge woman, who was the first African-American to receive an Oscar nomination in leading actress for Carmen Jones. She performed internationally. She did movies, here in the States, movies abroad. She did amazing acts, throughout hotels all around the world. I mean, she was beautiful on and off screen, and was a mom as well. And so I really loved the Holly Berry movie of Dorothy Dandridge, and I really wanted to take it a step further and put it on stage and make a celebration of this great woman who had knocked down so many doors and broke so many ceilings as a Black woman in the 60s.
I love that. I think that is incredible that you have done that, and I'm sure it's going to be absolutely incredible.
It
You
is.
know,
We have an incredible creative team. We have
yeah,
Trey Ellis, who is the writer, and
wow,
we have Shelton Becton, who's a composer, and both Shelton and Trey are the lyricists. And we have
wow.
Tamara Tooney as the director. And so we're just so excited and, you know, working on bringing it to New York City very soon. Stay
I
tuned.
love it. I love that. It's going to be awesome, and very excited to see what comes of that. You're also working on a new script called, I believe, Black Butterfly for television, right?
Black
Yes.
Butterfly.
Tell us more about that. Now it's in the television space. That's exciting. Is that something new for you?
Yes, it's absolutely new for me, but I love it. As we all know, there's so much content that you can take in through television.
Mhm.
And Black Butterfly was a concept that I had many years ago. And at a BET Awards ceremony, there was a young lady that was a recipient of one of the awards, and um, they had performances of their shows. And I just walked up to this woman, Mary McCollum, and I told her of my idea and introduced myself to her. And we both hit it off immediately.
Wow.
And we both created the script for Black Butterfly, based kind of loosely inspired by my life and my mother's life, actually. And it's about a young woman who had kind of gave up on her career, single mom, and working in her mother's agency, and finally gets the opportunity to pursue a graduate degree at the Juilliard School. And she is from Florida, and she is handling a double life, basically trying to manage her relationship with her fiance, who
Mhm.
has taken over and is watching her child in Florida while she's in New York trying to pursue her dreams, and all the tosses and turns and journeys that she has to go through to be able to truly make her dream come true. And the concept of this show is really about dreams do not have deadlines, and just inspiring everyone and the struggles behind this life that she's living, the struggle behind her mom's life, who's a businesswoman but is also suffering from depression, and just things that we all as humans have to go through on a daily basis. This show kind of touches on all of those different things.
That sounds like a really exciting concept and script. I mean, even you describing it to me, I'm so enthralled, so excited. And
Yeah,
I
it's
just,
a dramedy. It's a dramedy musical. So
yeah,
it's TV. It's like I always say it's like, because we've been exposed to different shows now. So I say it's like a mixture of Ally McBeal, Smash, and Empire,
oh, amazing.
all in one.
You describe it sounds like I can't wait for it to be on a television screen or a streaming service or whatever, because I'm very excited to see that. It's a great storyline and a great plot. It's very exciting. So
Yes,
that's
thank you.
wonderful.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. What is the update with that? Is that still in the works? Is there anything you can
Well,
share?
we did a Zoom presentation of the pilot with the Moss Musical Theater during the pandemic, because no one was doing anything live. And Gina Goff from Gina Goff Productions is a co-producer with me on this. And we currently have some wonderful networks that are reviewing the pilot as we speak, showing some interest. So we're keeping our fingers and our toes crossed.
Well, I'm crossing them for you as well. All of the toes and fingers are crossed here, because that sounds really exciting. I hope so.
Yeah.
Wow. So, what was it like to going back sort of on the Broadway scale? What was it like to originate in the original cast of Motown? I know you've spoken about before that you're close with, I believe, Berry Gordy. And how did that relationship form? And what's the best advice he's given you? I know you've spoken that he's a mentor to you.
Yes, he is. Oh my gosh, it's so funny because he literally called me yesterday when I was in the dressing room.
Wow.
And I had called him, just checking in on him. I like to check in on him to make sure he's okay, he's healthy, he's doing good. And he called me and I said, "Oh, Mr. Gordy, I'm about to go on stage soon." And he says, "Oh, okay, well, I'm just calling you back and, so proud of you. And let's talk later." And then I hung up the telephone and I made a joke, to my roommates, my castmates, the two ladies sharing my dressing room. And I said, "Oh, that was just Berry Gordy calling me. It never gets old, Berry Gordy." They were like, "What? That was Berry Gordy on the telephone?" I said, "Yes." And so now I know that next time he calls, I have to make sure that they know so they all can be like, "We love you, Berry Gordy."
Oh,
Because they so wanted to do that. And like he's a legend. He started Motown. He's discovered all these amazing artists that are like, that we idolize now, and
yeah.
still listen to their music. And I met Mr. Gordy actually through a a guy who actually heard me singing Motown in the sporting club at Monte Carlo, and told me that he knew Berry Gordy and Berry Gordy needed to hear me, and here's my card, give me a call. It was like literally that type of scenario. Of course, I followed up with that and met him, sang for him. And then soon after that, he was doing the Motown the Musical. So I knew him before he had started creating Motown Musical,
Mhm.
and was there like watching Motown being created as he was writing it, and the team of people that was working with him and inspiring him. And it was really, I mean, being able to witness that was just a lesson right there, to
Yeah.
see the creation. I think that was probably one of the things that inspired me of wanting to create my own shows.
Yeah.
I've been so used to auditioning for a role, and then you get cast in a role and you start rehearsals, and that's how it happens,
Mhm.
and being able to be behind the scenes watching the process and how hard it is, but how much passion is put into it. I was a goner. I was like, okay, I'm here. I'm here for all of this now.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
need to start from the beginning, and be able to create something that you can really like say, this is my own creation. And it was fascinating. And being part of that Motown team with Charles Randolph Wright directing, and Ethan Pop is the music supervisor, and Joseph Joubert was music director. I mean, it was like, a dream team to begin with,
Oh,
and the cast was amazing. I mean, it was a big family. I actually had a maternity leave during Motown and came back to Motown with
oh
a
my
baby. So it was
wow.
quite a ride, a wonderful, wonderful ride.
I love that. Yeah, everyone that I've spoken to who's been a part of it, or has touched the show in some way, has said what a ride it was and how special it was, and what a special thing for you to be so close and have such a bond and a mentorship with Barry Gordy. I mean, that is something that I assume is very rare. I mean, that he's Barry Gordy, right? And
Yes.
obviously shows how special you are, and how much he believes in you, that you have him really on speed dial.
Yeah, no, he's given me such great advice, um and just knowing, his story. There's a story where he said when he was just starting, this before he started Motown, and maybe many people might have known this story too, but I just remember him saying how when he was trying to sell his songs, and then he'd get his songs sold, but they weren't really, might have been like on the B side or whatever, or someone, or he'd like sign off on some bad contract, and they owned his song. He had no right to his song anymore, right?
Oh,
And he
yeah.
would always say, "Well, I can always write another hit." I
Wow.
was like, but because he lost the ownership of that song put him on the market. People knew who he was. Like it was, it was put on a great artist. And so suddenly his name was out there. And even though he didn't have the rights to that song, he was like, I can always write a new song. I can always write a hit song. The point is to get it out there, And I was like, wow, okay. Because I feel like everyone in our time is always expecting something for, like, oh, you want me to do this? Well, I need this. I need the world. You need to give me the world if you want me to do one thing. And it doesn't always happen that way from the very beginning, as they always call it, paying your dues in a way. It's like Mr. Gordy paid his dues, before he got to the point of being like the, founder of Motown. And we all, I think it's just kind of taking things in perspective, and also just watching him work and being a creator of things, as I mentioned before, was definitely a big influence on how I look at things now moving forward.
How special. That is just incredible. And did you get to meet anyone else during that time? I believe you were playing Mary Wells in that, right?
Playing Mary Wells. Sadly, Mary Wells, has passed many years before, but I got to, before Motown started, actually, I got to meet Smokey Robinson because I sang at the inauguration ball for President Obama, and which was set up by Mr. Gordy. And so Smokey and I were on the same program for the Commander-in-Chief, along with Josh Groban and Jordan Sparks. And
oh my gosh,
that's how I met Smokey. And then when I finally did the actual musical, I got to meet who? Oh my gosh, Mary Wilson, Diana Ross, Stevie Wonder. Oh my gosh, you name it. They're all coming out. They were all coming out to see that show. And then of course all the amazing celebrities that came backstage, like Whoopi Goldberg and Oprah Winfrey, and
oh my God,
the list goes on. You're just like going through all the pictures. You're like, oh my God, get my shot with these amazing people who actually loved our performance and grew up on this music. So it was really wonderful to see that connection.
Wow, that is so special. I love that. Yes, I meant, you're right, Mary Wilson. Well, I got her and Mary Wells confused. I apologize.
No, it's fine. No, Mary Wilson was who passed away this year, but she was part of the Supremes, and Mary Wells, as Mr. Gordy would call it, the first queen of Motown. She was the first female artist to cross Motown over to the pop charts with my guy. Smokey Robinson wrote that song for her.
I love that. Yeah, I turned them both around, so apologies.
No, it's okay. It's nothing you could tear me away from my guy.
And made famous by, it was made famous by her, but then we saw many inclinations, including talk about Whoopi Goldberg in Sister Act, when they changed it to My God, but it was still that.
Yes.
Which
absolutely,
probably made the song even more famous, because then people knew it was, so.
Yes, Motown music is so relevant even till today. It's amazing.
It is. As we wrap up here, what advice do you have for singers today that will help them succeed professionally, whether they're just starting out or, they're brand new to the industry? What is your advice for them?
Oh, wow. Well, I would say there's so many different things singers need to do to kind of prepare themselves. You're never going to be absolutely prepared. You're just going to have to go out there. Like, obviously you want to go out there with the advice of your teachers and your mentors. Having a team of people, a village of people that support you is so important. Anybody who is not going to give you positive energy or is going to put you down, you need to kick them to the curb immediately, because this business is about trying to get through, trying to open all the doors possible, believing in yourself. I always say that the way you treat yourself is an example of how people need to treat you. So you have to treat yourself with respect. You have to treat yourself with the utmost of self-care. Take care of yourself, not just your voice, but your entire body. Be conscious of how you present yourself. Like, people see all those different things, whether it is in person, whether it's through social media, whether it's in any facet. There's so many different platforms now that people can look you up, right? And so branding is very important. Like, start looking at how you want yourself to be branded. So when you go to, let's just say, not everyone comes out of school with management and agents ready to sign them, right?
Yeah.
So you, when you're in school, when you're training, people don't realize that networking with your teachers is a good thing. Teachers have connections.
Yes.
You know, don't be nasty to those teachers. Don't suck your teeth. Don't like, oh, she doesn't know what she's doing. That might not be good for your career, because they talk, you know. And I know a lot of teachers that will recommend. My teacher at Manhattan School of Music, Edith Burse, is the one who recommended me for my very first orchestral concert. I sang with Westchester Philharmonic, and it was because my teacher, she knew the conductor, and they said they were looking for a new artist. And so it's just, it can happen at any time, any place. Always be as ready as you possibly can, so that when that opportunity knocks, you are ready to open the door and take it in and embrace it and be ready for it. I think that, as they say, kindness is free. So always be kind, you know.
Always.
Treat people the way you want them to be. Treat people the way you want them to treat you. We're not perfect. I'm not perfect. I know that I have had my sassy days in the past too. And I'm like, oh my God, that was the old NKenge. Because, you know, we get into this trend of,
Right.
you watch people do things and you're like, oh, I can do that too. And you're like, no, don't take that advice. But it's a learning, it's a learning thing. And don't be afraid to apologize, you know, and say that you're wrong, and be able to take constructive criticism, and also know the difference between whether someone is giving you constructive criticism or they're just trying to be mean. You're like, that was unsolicited, so I'm going to just take that, all those pages of advice that you gave me that were actually really nasty, and push that aside and not allow that to falter my spirit, right? So it's just, it's a wild world. It's a ride that is going to have its ups and downs, and you have to know that it's never going to be perfect, you know. Just be the best that you possibly can be, and be intelligent enough to know who to trust around in your circle and who to take advice from. And just you have to be a solid in your head and in your heart. Just be a good person, you know, and work hard, because people see the work. When you are doing the work, they see the work. They can hear the work. They, you know, and it just takes you a whole different level of respect, you know, and you want to have the respect from not just your directors and the casting directors, but you want to have the respect of your colleagues.
Which is very important. You are saying all of the right things, and I agree with everything. Even though I'm not a singer and performer, everything you have said is so true for any industry, and it's a lot of what other people have echoed on this show as well. And I really agree. And as you said too, even with teacher part, you know, I know the kids these days, but kids today, you know, sometimes are maybe not the most respectful to teachers or professors. But as you said, you never know who they know, and as you know, who they speak with, and you know, they could very well help you get a break, or get a big break, or you know, get somewhere like yours did with you for that symphony.
Absolutely. Or lose a job because of it, because someone may say, I heard that you were working with so and so. How is she or he to work with? Like, and then if they say something bad, there you go. You need to get that phone call because
Right.
you weren't nice. or you weren't professional, you know? So it's a small circle. It really is
It
a very
is.
small circle. And I recommend friends all the time to jobs, like all the time. Like, I'm just like, I
Love
can't
that.
do this, but ooh, you need to hear so and so. She is going to
Oh,
raise the roof, you know?
right.
So colleagues are recommending each other, you know? So
Mhm.
it's one of those things that you just have to be focused. The prize, get your eye on the prize, and you don't need to knock people down to get to it.
I,
Bring
I
everybody together, bring them
yes,
along the journey, right? There's plenty of roles, plenty of shows
there are.
that's enough for all of us to work.
I could not agree more with that, NKenge. You are so right. Before we go, tell us, where can we keep up with you? Where can we follow you?
Yes, absolutely. I was going to say, anybody have any more questions, they can just pop a line to me through Instagram. I'm on Instagram at Diva NKenge, as well as Twitter. And then I'm also NKenge's Music on Facebook. And
Oh, okay.
also NKengemusic.com. As I
I,
said.
okay. I didn't put the Facebook. I'm sorry. Whoops.
No, no worries, no worries, no worries.
There is the link on your website, because that's where you can see her Facebook on there. So if you go to the website, you can see it there.
Absolutely, absolutely. We're in the middle of creating a new website, and so that should be live in the next couple of months, and lots of new information to share. So I'm excited, and please, anyone who wants to keep up and keep in touch, I am available on all platforms.
I love that. How wonderful. Well, listen, for those of you watching, if you want to continue to keep up with me and see all of my exciting episodes of this digital talk show, Live with Rye, and to see my special guest at my live in-person show, Live with Rye and Friends on Broadway, which this coming week, when you're watching this, the special guest will be Robbie Roselle. I've had a great few weeks since starting it. You can follow me at Rye_Myers on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. I'm also official Rye Myers on Facebook. And once again, please feel free to go to ridethenewsguy.com/donate, or go to the Venmo at the bottom of the screen as well, and leave a donation. Also, let me know what you want to see. I love hearing from you and want to know what kind of content you are enjoying seeing. So, NKenge, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to do this. I'm really so honored to have talked with you and learned so much. You've given so much great wisdom, so much good advice for people. That I think that they can really walk away with. And I'm really excited to see you in Carolina Change.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and I'm looking forward to seeing